I'm Diego Cordovez. Welcome to The Scoop, brought to you by Full Tilt Poker. And we've got a special guest today, Sammy Farha, runner-up to Chris Moneymaker in the famous 2003 World Series, but two-time bracelet winner, and more importantly, plays in the biggest live games in the world, has always been a legendary PLO player, and it's going to be a lot of fun to talk to him today. So we're at the Heads Up Championship, and you have a lot of experience playing shorthanded and heads up in live games and cash games with a lot at stake. So this should be a really good format for you. You just beat Antonio. The people who see you play on high stakes poker or on ESPN, do they really understand what your game is about, or does that help your image when you play in these types of matches?
Well, I already have my image. My image is established through the years before poker got popular.
Right.
I have a certain image, and it works for me. That's how I made my money, really. And it's all about image when you play poker. It's not. I mean, you see players playing so tight by the book, and they go broke every day.
You have the ability to generate action unlike anybody else, because people know that you're willing to give action. I mean, is that the essence of your
That's my
your
strategy.
game?
I want to get them out of their comfort zone. If I don't raise before the flop, if I don't give the action before the flop, I can't get action. There's no money involved. So you want to get them lost a little bit in the hand, as long as you know where they're at.
Right.
You don't. If you're lost, you don't know where they're at. Then there's no sense of creating action.
You see players who they clearly seem to misunderstand what your game is about, or they're just so preoccupied by your image that they make mistakes that they wouldn't make otherwise.
I played. This is my favorite tournament, by the way. The Heads Up. Even though I never won it, but how long is it? 6 years, 7 years since they started.
Yeah, 6
6 out of 6. I really get knocked out by being unlucky.
Right.
And my strategy is, or my strength is, that I make good players play bad. That's the only strategy I have.
Make them play a different game than they're used to playing.
They do. They don't know where they're at. Either they go all in with a bad hand, trying to put the pressure because I raise every hand, and
Right.
boom, finally I got the hand. Yeah. Like for instance, right now I have Ace 10 against Ace 5. But that's not a bad thing from Antonio, because I won every single hand against him.
Right. Do players work so long to trap you, thinking that you're loose and out of line, that you know that they're coming after you, and you develop like an extra sense to when they're trying to trap you?
That's true, but this is not the only issue. The issue is sometimes when somebody plays tight, you give them the benefit of the doubts. Okay, he must have a hand to go all in.
Right.
Which is not true. In a situation like this, it's not true. I don't want to explain it why.
Right.
But it's not true, and I catch best players doing these mistakes against them.
What about, I mean, the public has gotten to know you from TV, from when you played Chris Moneymaker, from the high stakes poker, but you're still primarily a cash game player. You don't play very many tournaments at all. So your bread and butter is playing in the really high stakes games, primarily shorthanded. Pot Limit Omaha, which you're famous for, and No Limit Hold'em.
That's what poker is, by the way. It's not playing tournament.
Right.
Real poker is when you put the pressure on. When you put the pressure with no value chips, I mean, it's good when you win it. There's a lot of money involved.
Can you tell when people sit down with you sometimes that they're affected by the fact that they haven't played for that type of cash before, that type of money? Maybe they think, well, this is a good spot, I'll play Sam, where there's so much money to be won, but they're not prepared to have that much at stake in a single pot.
When I play small games, yes, and I see them more involved with me in a lot of hands trying to beat me, which is good for me. I like that. I make a lot of money playing small games. But the big games, they're all pros.
Okay.
It's like instinct, right away. Call or fold, or
Right.
There's no moves. There's no edge in it. A lot.
You played, I was interested, and I've heard this, but I believe it's true, that you were playing Brandon Adams heads up, but you spotted him the button on every hand in PLO. Is that true? Because that seems like a very strong spot to overcome.
It's true, but I have certain players I do it with.
Right, you're
Brandon
not going
was
to do
playing
it with anybody.
Spirit, by the way. Yes. I don't want to say that. Brandon is a great player, but I spot him the button because he was playing very tighter against him. He was pretty lucky with a lot of hands. I caught him in a big couple of hands. He went all in with a lot of money. Made a mistake, I bet the twice, but I do that sometimes. I mean, because when you see somebody beating you every time, it works the other way around sometimes, you know. You deal it twice, and then the second time he draws out on you.
But against certain players, even though that seems like an incredible spot to give, it can work in your favor.
I can switch positions
Okay.
because of my aggressiveness. I raise a lot before the flop, and I change the position a little bit. Then you really have to have the guts to play the hand.
I mean, long before the public got to know you on TV, you were very well known among high limit pros for putt limit Omaha more than anything else. PLO was the game that you made your name in, that's associated with you. Now, I mean, back then there was kind of a small circle of players who were willing to play real high stakes PLO. Now on the internet we see that the game's exploded.
It's really, poker changed a lot. It's not like it used to be. It used to be a profession, it's more skillful game. Now it's not as more skillful.
Why is that?
Why is that? They use their computer, they use calculators in every hand, they run it over the computer, let's see who has an edge. We don't do that. We use our minds right away, our brains. Like this, we know the answer.
Your instincts.
Yeah, we don't have the accurate by the penny, but we're very close to it instead. All these young age,
they've calculated it all out.
Yeah, and they're sharp. I mean, I don't have complaints, but they're pretty...
It's a different game if they've already run all the simulations and in real time they can already calculate all the equities and use that to their advantage.
Plus, they make the money faster than we do.
Much faster, of course.
Much faster. They play 10 hands or 6 hands every second.
So do you play on the internet at all in the high stakes?
No.
So if people want to play you, it's going to be old style on the table, live.
Well, I enjoy the game. If I want to lose my money, let me enjoy it.
If you, I mean, obviously you've played some of these guys, some of these younger guys who've come and challenged you, and you know I've heard about the big games at Bobby's Room. Is there a particular style or particular tendencies or weaknesses perhaps that play to your advantage when they play live? Guys who've really had the training on the internet, even though they've played tens of thousands of hands and are big winners.
I have an edge, even though most of the time I lose to them, because there's so much luck involved when you put the money in on a draw, you know, and you can't help it. You're gonna look like a hero when you draw and you hit big hand, and that's people's gonna remember you like the winner, not the second place.
Right.
It's the same thing in cash game. So they're pretty gutsy. They put their money on a draw, and they get there. But I always think I have an edge, and that's why I keep playing against them, because they're not scared to put the money on.
No.
And I will put all the money. I'm not scared. I'm okay with it also, as long as I have an edge on it.
I think that would have been one of your bigger advantages, let's say 10 years ago, where people really would be scared. You know, they just hadn't played for those stakes, with those swings. The internet conditions you to accept big swings. After you play on the internet for a while, it's so much faster, there's so many more hands that you're not discombobulated by, you know, going up or down hundreds of thousands or millions, because that's the nature of the game. Whereas in the past, somebody might sit down with you, they're down 500,000, they start to it's never happened to them before.
We never used to lose that kind of money. Now it's amazing. Every day they lose 2 million, 3 million a day, or win 2
millions
million
up and down in one day.
And that's really affected in the cash game, in our game also, because they're not scared to put the money in.
That's what I mean, yeah. It's a different dynamic.
When you bet 50,000, people mark their hand right away.
Right.
Now they can't wait, they put it. But
And
that's how they make their money.
And if they got down, they'd go on tilt. Now maybe they don't as much because they're more used to those kinds of situations.
They got to count on their luck. That's how I see it. I don't care how much money they can make or how fast they make it with. To me or other professional poker player, no. We look at the odds.
Right.
Is it worth it to call? These guys, they would call. They know your favorite 4-1, but they put the money in. And they know they can't bluff me. They have to make the hand.
Right.
To beat me.
They're not going to bluff you most of the time. Correct?
Because they know I'm going to call it.
Yeah.
So you assume you have an edge there, you're not going to be bluffed. But they make the hand.
Thanks for joining us on The Scoop, brought to you by Full Tilt Poker. We've had a great time with Sammy Farha, and a lot more to talk about with him, so join us next week for part 2, and write to us at thescoop@cardplayer.com.